Welcome back, Tactical Aficionados. I am Damien Darko, and you are watching Bandside Tactical, where it's not illegal if you don't get caught. Well, we're taking a break from our normal rigmarole over in the banned state of Massachusetts to the slightly less banny-inclined state of Vermont. Unfortunately, sitting right next to the border of the completely free state of New Hampshire, where I wouldn't have to be reviewing this today. But anyway, we got another follow-up review of a customized version of the Umarex HDP-50 Compact. This one has had a couple of modifications made to it. Obviously, you will notice the emblem of Sammy, the less lethal squirrel. We have a new purple coat of paint. This is the No Hunt purple. And I have a fiber optic sight installed on there, if you can see it, because the sights of this thing were absolutely terrible out of the box. But most importantly, get right close to this, Tactical Aficionados, I have taken a drill and drilled through the side of our outer casing in order to expose the detent. And that's important. You can see this is currently loaded with a 50 caliber pepper ball. The reason I do that is because one of the biggest flaws of this design is the fact that this detent can get kind of stuck up in there. A whole bunch of different nonsense can happen, in which case you'll be sitting there pulling this trigger and pull this trigger and nothing is going to happen. The Umarex HDP-50 Compact was so close to being revolutionary only a couple years ago, and it's a bit outdated now with some of the new stuff that's coming out. Got the Secure 68, which is a pull-to-pierce. We're going full pull-to-pierce in the not-too-distant future, boys and girls. Mostly boys, according to the algorithm. One thing I do like very much about this model is the 8-gram CO2 rather than the standard 12, because look how incredibly compact that is in the hand. You can slip it into pockets, all sorts of things. It just disappears compared to other models. I don't like this little piece under here. It's kind of necessary because of another weird design feature. A tubular magazine. Yep, like on the old grandpa guns there. You see that. Maybe I can get a better shot later of the loading and unloading process. Some of you are familiar with it. This is necessary because if you don't have this bottom piece to kind of close that up, when you fire these, it actually ejects the rest of your magazines out the barrel. And guess what? There's only 4 of them in 50 caliber. Yeah, I don't like that. The Beeman BP-50's got 8+1 in a detachable box magazine, but believe it or not, I know I'm about to say something crazy. This thing right here, I carry this more than the Beeman BP-50 because I actually can. The Beeman has a lot more room sticking out because of that puncture cap and the larger 12-gram CO2. I wish they made Beeman in an 8-gram, even if they had to sacrifice a round or two. I would have liked the 8-gram. You know, if the 8th round of 50 caliber pepper ball didn't stop someone, you think the 9th round will? I don't know about that. Anyway, before we get going, I had to take some chronograph readings, and since I couldn't bring my equipment out here with me to Vermont, I had Past Damien do it for me. Take it away, Past Damien. Oh, thanks, Future Damien. Past Damien here. Man, we don't really get to speak much on this channel, so, as promised, I got the Sammy launcher loaded up with 4 rounds of 2.8-gram aluminum, and we're going to get some tests over the chronograph here in a more controlled environment, since I don't know exactly what kind of nonsense Future Damien is having to deal with right now to get this review done. And if I have some more CO2 left in there, I'm even going to do a quick tactical reload. Whoa! Wow, that was loud in here. 336. See, this is what I was saying. When this thing is in a more optimal condition, you get some high joules numbers. That's about 14, maybe even 15 joules. 323. 316. Says I just whooped your ass. 314. And there is some gas left in the chamber. We're going to do a quick tactical reload. Tactical reload with our tube mag. Oh God, get in there. This is definitely easier with the 12 gauge. Come on. Maybe if you have tiny Oompa Loompa hands. 4 more. 322. See, it had a minute there to kind of get the CO2 pressure back up and fight against that cooling. 310. 302. 281. Now we're getting a little bit lower. Whew. Well, I don't know what kind of numbers you're dealing with in the in the cold tundra of Vermont over there, Future Damien, but at least in the apartment, under controlled conditions, this thing's hitting 14, 15 joules pretty consistently, and it's using that 8-gram CO2 pretty efficiently. Back to the main review. Thanks, Past Damien. Those were actually some pretty decent results out of that thing, considering it is hitting with about the same power, I want to say, as the Beeman BP-50, depending on the temperature. Beeman can definitely go stronger under certain circumstances. We're getting close to 14 or 15 joules out of something this small, which I can carry on my dick. Isn't bad. It is primarily going to be a pepper launcher, not so much a kinetic launcher, but it's good to have a little bit of kinetic force just to be able to pop those peppers. Speaking of popping those peppers, they're not in here anymore. That's right, I use editing magic to replace the 50 caliber pepper round with, I'll show you right here, it's a 3.5 gram steel polymer composite, a little bit heavier. Not sure how well they are for a bore match. And look at this. Oh, we got a deadly zombie coconut in the corner there. Brains! Then I have to take that damn thing out. Looks like it's at least a best case scenario. It's nudged against that tree. It's got nowhere to go, folks. It's a trapped animal. Whew. All right. I got 4 of these loaded up and another 4 in my pocket. Let's see if we can crack it. I don't expect to absolutely decimate that thing. This is not a kinetic launcher, but if it demonstrates a little bit of kinetic strength, then we know it will at least get those pepper rounds to pop. It is not going to be as ideal out here as it was during that test that past Damien just gave you, because temperature is important, but carrying this on your dick is also important, because your own body heat can keep this thing in the fight long enough to take out your deadly zombie adversary. Woo! All right, well, would you look at that? We got some results. Yes! From a small 50 caliber. Not bad, boys and girls. Let me bring some of my travel companions with me and see if we can get some, I don't know, more in the field results.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Just none of y'all pussy. You know, I go harder than anyone I know, much less anyone that you know, okay? So, you dig? Do you dig? You're from New Jersey and you don't know how to do it. But my raps are tighter than yours, my muscles are bigger, you ain't got no chains, you ain't got no wife beaters, no guns, no hair gel. Just respect me. You ain't nothing. I'll come up there, probably flash my guns around a little bit. I'll go, ooh, dude, my mom's gonna kill me.
From Pixar Studios, when hope fades, kindness arrives. Sometimes, all it takes is a single act of care.
All she needs is some dick inside her.
Love can heal more than we think.
You ain't touching that switch. Last thing I need's paperwork because a giant hamster got button happy.
Fire? Ain't no fire here, partner. You been licking cactus juice?
Well, butter my biscuits. Cappy was right.
Well, I'll be. Watermelon Head just save our hides. Move it, folks. Sheriff Cappy's leading the posse now. Folks, if Sheriff Cappy earned his stripes tonight, you best hit that like and subscribe.
This is going to be better than Mahmoud's cucumber.
Why does it taste different?
Cucumber. Coming soon.
Whew! Well, here we are at the water level, the river level, tactical aficionados. Hooah! And we have our newly painted Sammy, the less lethal squirrel, swinging steel target. I got some 2.8 gram aluminum in here and a new 8 gram CO2, being accompanied by Tactical Offspring. Oh yeah, these are the new cold steel throwing stars, ninja stars. We're gonna give those a try in a little bit. I'm gonna set up B-cam close to Sammy And maybe you can act as cameraman for this one. Okay, I'm gonna get pretty close for this. We got our SAMI target up and running. There's our puncture cap. Let's see if these new sights pay off. We finally got some fiber optics. Whoa, there we go. Missed that one. I think that was 2 of our 4 shots. I did kind of start rattling them off. Whoa, there we go. Ouch! Oh, we gotta do a tactical reload. Huh. Oh, did I hit 5? Oh, there we go. Huh. Quick! Get that damn thing. He's still coming at us. Maybe get a little closer.
I think it did it. I think it did it.
It has a bit of an issue where if you don't pull it way back up, is it that detent again? Let's see. There it goes.
All right, let me do it.
You have to pull all the way through. Boom!
Yep.
There we go.
Tactical reload.
Unfortunately, it only holds 4. Yeah, well, it does have a decent amount of power for a smaller, less lethal. Okay, tactical aficionados, I got some 50 caliber powder rounds centered over my dick as per usual with an unpierced 8-gram CO2, and we have our deadly pirate zombie variant out there. I'm probably gonna zoom in on that and edit. Anyway, I'm gonna draw as fast as I can, pierce it, and fire all 8 rounds center mass. Oh, wait, cameraman, no, wait, there we go. Okay, awesome. Well, no, here, like over this way. Oh, all right. Did you see the pirate? See the pirate? All right, awesome. That's my purse. I don't know you. That is not a group. Let's get a little closer.
Hey.
I only see 3 of those. Here, come on. I was firing fast. 1, 2, 3. I don't know where the first one went. I was aiming right here. He's lucky I didn't get him in the Jolly Roger, but other than that, Let's see. I'm gonna load up some more and slow down a little bit and see if that helps the accuracy.
It died.
So that was rattling them off fast. Now I'm gonna try to take a little bit more of a deliberate shot here, because that was not great. Those are coming back at us. Look, there's one right there on the ground. And this last one is acting weird. Acting weird. There, up. Ooh, that almost went wrong. So with the valve block removed, this thing runs out of power after a while. We clustered some more close to his dick. He's a lucky man, or pirate zombie. But I can't say that the accuracy is anything to write home about. It is a very short barrel.
Doik.
I think he's still alive, though. Oh no. I see where this is going. Should we get the airsoft? Well, some interesting results there. And before we move on to our tales of the tape, I just kind of wanted to round some of this stuff up. So we've certainly gotten the HDP-50 Compact to hit harder than I thought it used to. It had once gotten the inglorious Binky Bear Award for coming in at a horribly low joules rating. Now those low joules do still apply if you're in really cold weather, or if you throw this thing in the freezer as I did in a previous test. But otherwise, we can still get this thing to hit about 14 joules, which isn't too bad. It was advertised at 16 with all the valve blocks removed, but that's probably with dedicated kinetic rounds, maybe something 4-gram and 50 caliber. I consider this to be basically a powder dispenser, so the higher joules are definitely welcome, but not a deal breaker. The reliability, I gotta say though, this thing had some issues off camera where we were still having issues with those detents, particularly with smaller 2.8 gram aluminum. The alien play were kind of moving around in that detent, and a couple times kind of jammed it up. However, when I put the larger powder rounds in there, that wasn't happening, so bore match is important. Plus drilling the, that little window on the side certainly helped. That's something you're gonna have to do yourself because they don't sell it that way. They sell it in such a way, whereas if you have a detent problem, they give you this weird little tool to kind of jam down the barrel, and I don't know how I feel about that thing. It really has to have a window in order to access the upper part of its magazine. Not technically its magazine. The magazine doesn't really detach from the barrel itself. They really are one piece. And there's not even something that kind of comes between them like you get in an actual pew-pew. Well, a long pew. So it has a bunch of issues in that regard, and it's still stuck to only 4 rounds with a very slow reload. And when I say slow reload, what I mean is that if I had a black powder revolver set aside with another cylinder that was already loaded and capped, what I consider a black powder magazine, I can load that bad boy from the Civil War. The Civil War! Faster than I can, thumb 4 new rounds into this thing as I got it awkwardly broken open. Not all tubular magazines are built the same. Some on actual firearms are functioning a lot faster and keeping in the game faster. This thing has to be kind of disassembled, and then you got to weasel your fingers in there around, well, I'll just show you as I have it here, around this piece right there, which gets in the way as you're trying to do it. It's not really the fastest method. However, it is incredibly small, and that definitely makes it useful for carry, which is something we're gonna have to talk about. The fiber optic sights I inserted helped. This thing is not super accurate, and when I say that, I mean I want to say this thing has about the accuracy of the 6-needler, which we talked about recently. That means up close, it's fine. You're not really gonna be grouping with this thing all that much. I don't know. I've been reorganizing the way I get tabulate the stats for these things, the tails of the tape. And we have 8 varied criteria now instead of the standard 6, and I think I'm gonna have to add something, another category for concealability, because I am judging this as a concealable, less lethal carry. What the? No way. I couldn't have just seen that. We're in Vermont. My God, a rare sighting. No way. It's Sammy, the less lethal squirrel. Hey, Sammy.
Hi, kids. I need help.
Jesus, said Sammy, how'd you find me in the state of Vermont?
I always know where you are, Damien. Always.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, what do you think about the new Umarex HDP-50 Compact Sammy launcher?
Well, it's certainly one of the best looking launchers on the market, especially since they put my face on it, but I just don't know about that wonky detent. And why couldn't they give us a proper detachable box magazine for reloads instead of that damn tubular magazine? It's driving me crazy. Well, on the upside, it did a lot better against the coconut this time, and since it is a pepper launcher, it's really about launching that spicy sauce to get you out of trouble. And that's what Sammy the Less Lethal Squirrel thinks you should do when you're in trouble. Remember, safety first, kids.
Well, they sure can choke on those pepper rounds, Sammy.
Anyway, I gotta go. Gotta catch the next bus back to Massachusetts. Bye, kids.
What a cheerful little guy. Anyway, let's get to the tails of the tape. Welcome back, tactical aficionados, to the Tales of the Tape, where we'll be judging today's improvised home defense accoutrement based off of 8 varied criteria. And no, I did not say improvised EDC because that is a separate section which we are now breaking off. I'm going to be judging it by the standard 8 varied criteria and then an additional 2 carry criteria. But I've already spent a lot of time yapping about the Umarex HDP-50 Compact in person, so let's get right into the numbers. For availability, it's going to get a 4.5 out of 5. It is available online. It will be delivered straight to your door, even through Amazon in most states, but one of the issues I'm having, particularly in New York, is getting a hold of those spicy rounds. And yes, the spicy rounds are legal here, but they have shipping issues. It's a bit complicated, and this is primarily a pepper dispenser. Its price? well, anywhere between 100, 130, or maybe 165 if you have ones pre-made with the valve block. But either way, it's pretty respectable. Also giving it a 4.5 out of 5. It's a hell of a lot cheaper than the competition in the same size department. Ease of use, giving it a 3.5 out of 5. It is pretty easy to use, but it has a couple of weird eccentricities that make it a bit trickier than some other launchers that have what resembles a more traditional, you know, loading magazine as opposed to tubular magazines and some other things. The sights that come standard are pretty poor. The fiber optic sights I inserted are going to help quite a lot. I am kind of judging this and in its modified configuration. Keep that in mind. The stock one might even score a little less depending on how much you like those fiber optic sights. Ooh, capacity. Well, here's where things start getting tricky. So it has a capacity of 4, which is a lot less than a lot of these launchers have, even the smaller ones. I'm going to have to give it a score right down the middle. It's going to get a 2.5 out of 5. Capacity of 4, especially 450 caliber, is really starting to get towards the lower end. Usually 5 is kind of the basement, but here we go down to 4, and that's not good. And things get even worse, unfortunately. The reload. Oh boy, the reload. Well, you saw it in live action. It's a 4-round tubular magazine that you have to break the bottom of this thing open in order to reload. So I'm going to have to give it a 2 out of 5. To me, the reload is clearly the weakest category that the Umarex HDP-50 has, and that's why we haven't... Oh, 50 Compact, excuse me. And that's why we haven't seen this design replicated. The market has moved on from bottom-loading tubular magazine things on these launchers. Next up, reliability. Okay, I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5. The reliability was better than it had been in the past, but you have to make sure that your rounds are bore matched properly, or they're going to move around and get stuck in your detent. Now, I was able to fix this because, of course, this is the modified version, and I drilled a hole in the side of the damn casing in order to access my detent, in order to be able to fix these problems without having to reach for that little plunger that they give you, or without having to completely disassemble the damn thing, which you're definitely not going to be able to do during the 3 AM challenge. So it still has some issue. You have to practice with this thing beforehand and choose the right 50 caliber ammo to put in there. The wrong ammo, something that's not fit properly, is going to move around, it's going to jam up that detent, it's going to get stuck back towards the valve, and you're going to have to be tinkering around with it when you don't want to be. Accuracy. This is also getting a 3 out of 5. It is accurate, but again, I had to install aftermarket sights on this. I'd say it groups about as accurately as something like the 6-needler, which is a bit on the low end, and the further out you go, the more that group is going to open up. This is not a tack driver, but if you're using it with pepper rounds, which is what you should be doing, you should still be able to hit center mass, and therefore release that spicy sauce. I don't know if this is accurate enough that I'd be going for things like headshots at any kind of distance. And last but certainly not least, the effectiveness. If this were a non-less lethal, this category would be the lethality category, but for everything designated a less lethal, we use the effectiveness standard. And loaded with pepper rounds, which is how I think you should be using this, I'm going to give it a fairly run-of-the-mill 3 out of 5. It is effective. 68 caliber pepper rounds are more effective, depending on the circumstances. 68 caliber kinetic rounds coming out of something like the pistol would be even more effective, I believe. But this is, again, a carry option. I don't quite like pepper for indoor use. I think the likelihood of you dousing yourself is just about as high as getting that zombie. So what does that give us out of a total possible score of 40? Well, it gives us a 26 out of 40. In previous iterations of Tales of the Tape, 26 would have been a high score, but that's back when the maximum was 30. Now that the maximum is 40, we're coming in at just over half of its, 20 being the halfway point. Just over that. Its availability and price are very strong. Its ease of use is fairly good. A little catch-ups here and there. Capacity and reload hit this score hard with 2.5 and 2 respectively. And all of our other categories, reliability, accuracy, and effectiveness, are all about run-of-the-mill, center of the pack 3. But we still have something to talk about with this review because it has 2 other special categories related to the fact that this is a carry option. First, let's start with the ease of carry. Obviously, I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5. Granted, I'm giving it a 4 out of 5 rather than a 5 because there are some items that absolutely disappear, and hopefully I'm going to get to review one of those soon. Incredibly small things like, you know, a handheld mace, the Kimber Pepper Blaster, things like that would probably get a 5. This is getting a 4. If this were an actual firearm, it would still be, I guess, in the subcompact range. I'm not exactly sure how that relates, but it's still not something that completely disappears in a pocket. Having an 8 gram makes it a hell of a lot more concealable. It's certainly more concealable than other launchers like the Beeman DP-50 or, God help us, the Pastel. Next, I'm going to be having a category called the ease of deployment. So to explain this is simply how quickly you can pull this thing out, do whatever you need to do to activate it, and then get it into the fight. And for this, I'm also going to give it a 4 out of 5. Mostly, I believe that a lot of the slap to activate are probably going to be getting this 4 out of 5. It feels about right. It's a quick way to activate. It could be quicker. We're moving towards pull to pierce, I believe, for the next generation of carry launchers, and I'm excited about that. Things like the Byrna or the new Secure 68 are probably getting a 5 out of 5 in this category, but the slap to pierce is still a hell of a lot more effective than those wonky twist to pierce. I can't stand those. I don't know why that is even a thing for activation in 2025, almost 2026. So it's getting a total of 8 for that subcategory, which has, of course, a maximum of 10. But again, has that affect our maximum score of 26? Does having good ease of carry and good ease of deployment make up for some of those lower numbers? Man, that capacity and reload. Well, the price and availability are certainly right, and it does carry better than other items that are, well, otherwise objectively more effective. Again, the Beeman BP-50, if it were just a little bit smaller in the size of that piercing system, maybe even 1 or 2 less rounds in there, I think it would be the perfect carry, but it isn't. I'm not going to be able to give this thing a tactical possum. It's effective, but it's just not quite effective enough. It's got a good price, but its reliability and other issues, it has to be modified. That's another thing. I had to modify this. So I'm going to withhold the tactical possum. It still has some defensive use, but since I've removed the valve block, and since we got some fairly powerful numbers out of this, about 14, 15 joules in its first shots, I am going to take a mark against this item off the records. It is no longer in receipt of the inglorious Binky Bear. Well, there you have it, tactical aficionados. The Umarex HDP-50 Compact Modified Edition does manage to redeem itself from the inglorious Binky Bear Award, but I don't quite think it needs that tactical possum adhered to it just yet, or probably ever, because we're being honest, it's a little bit outdated and has some quirks to it that make it useful in a pinch, but definitely suboptimal compared to the other kind of launchers that are on the market, and I think the ones that are gonna be coming out. But stay right here with Band State Tactical, where we're going to be looking at some new non-less lethals, including something I've been waiting and dying to get my hands on. That's right, we are getting back into multi-shot, magazine-fed pistol crossbows, or in this case, maybe more of a carbine-length crossbow, with the Revo 7-shot, standard, well, with anyway, crossbow bolts, rapid fire as fast as you can crank those things out. Whew, I'm going to be excited to see if we can kill some coconuts with that thing right here on Band State Tactical, where it's not illegal if you don't get caught.
Zombies falter as we night. Band State Tactical, step bold. Weapons with stories unfold. Zombies crumble when we hold. Courage was more than gold.